Well, the end of the school year fast approaching, and Rochelle High School in Westchester County dealing with a grading scandal. The Journal News has uncovered documents that allegedly show students getting inflated grades for very subpar work. Now, the district is investigating, and we are working with the paper to get to the bottom of things. Here's Files One's Ray Ramundi.
New Rochelle High School attempting to erase another controversy surrounding the school campus.
I'd never seen anything like it, and it just, for high schooler work, it didn't add up.
Journal News education reporter Colleen Wilson reacting after she received documents which revealed alleged grade inflation at the high school following online coursework submitted by students in the spring of 2016. Wilson was sent reams of testing documents and scoring sheets, which allegedly revealed students' responses that were incomplete, didn't make sense, or were not even answered.
Didn't add up, and I just took a really careful eye and careful look at corresponding the grades and the work with the grading sheets that were accompanied with these documents.
New Rochelle High using online classroom programs with Apex Learning. The purpose to help students retake courses which they failed in order to meet graduation requirements. The grades for the exams signed off by school administrators. 100s and even perfect scores were given, despite alleged lackluster or incorrect answers to course testing questions, like this high school senior, who was asked to create a successful work of art with the illusion of depth. The student's response? Crossed out as you see here, with incomplete phrases. Or this question, which asks the student to create a work of art that did not use perspective. The student simply responds by saying nature. Another student's coursework revealing that individual's response to a test question by drawing stick figures of a home and of a human.
It seemed unclear how exactly they use the program and what rules are in place or practices are in place to make sure it's done with integrity.
The serious allegations made here at New Rochelle High School couldn't have come at a worse time. The high school still trying to recover from a fatal stabbing of a high school student that happened earlier in the school year. And now revelations about possible grade inflation here has put the high school right in the spotlight once again. After the coursework was shown to school and district administration, the New Rochelle High School principal and superintendent announcing an independent investigation was being conducted into the matter. But a week after the investigation was launched, we asked for an update on the investigation and requested to speak with the superintendent. After we didn't receive a response within 24 hours of our request, we headed to the district offices. Public Information Officer Ken Valenti greeted us. How about an update? What's going on with the investigation? What process is the investigation in? Is there any preliminary information that could be shared? That's what we want to know.
Right. Well, they have hired the investigator. Beyond that, I mean, I don't have an update, and I don't know how much I'm going to get.
After asking when the superintendent would be back in his office, we were told to return in an hour. 60 minutes later, we came back. It's an hour later. We're still looking for answers. Is he here? Is he willing to talk with us?
I don't think he's here. I'm in the middle of something now.
It's going over 24 hours now, and I'm trying to give you guys the opportunity. There should be some type of explanation about what's going on here. And the time is ticking for the answers. With the planned school board meeting on June 5th and the high school graduation on the 21st of June, the district will hopefully be responding to the matters at hand sooner than later. In New Rochelle, Ray Ramundi, Files One News.
The New Rochelle School District says that they hope to have the findings of the investigation before the end of the school year. Now, in Ray's piece, you heard from Journal News reporter Colleen Wilson. Her full report is on LoHUD.com right now. And Colleen, she joins us for more. This one doesn't seem to be on the margins. Were you guys surprised at just how seemingly rampant it was and just how bad it was?
Yeah, it was pretty extreme, and I think that's why we pursued the story as fervently as we did, because the examples that you showed and that we saw and we put in our paper were egregious, and they just didn't make sense. And
they bear repeating. Now, let me just show a few of them here. Obviously, the one that jumps out is that stick figure that you saw in there. This for art appreciation, and this, I believe, got you an A+ here?
It got 100%.
Yeah, you know, unless they're going for hieroglyphics or something more complex, that's a reach. And it didn't stop there. This was the answer that you see below the highlighted portion. That crossed off work again got full points as a correct answer. Again, when there was a pretty complex question asking about the modern art, obviously soliciting a deeper explanation, all they got was colorful, unique pictures. Again, full credit for that. The same thing when asked to extrapolate about modern art and what comes to mind. Unique and different apparently qualified for full points as well. And it goes on and on. And did you find, Colleen, that this was just some rogue class, or that this went across the board to a bunch of different subjects, to apparently a bunch of different supervisors who supposedly were keeping an eye on this?
We don't really know yet the extent of this kind of work and that kind of grade inflation, or what looks like grade inflation. We only had 3 concrete examples that showed 100% that seemed to be put in randomly. So that prompted the district, I think, and those kinds of questions prompted the district to say that we needed to take a bigger scale look at this. And these are from 2016, remember, so the program has been running since 2014. And
I thought it was interesting in the genesis that when the initial answers are, well, we'll get a handle on this pretty quickly, it was like, we're taking this out of the school's hands. We're finding an independent agency to take a closer look, because as you said, this is from 2 years ago. Who knows what happened before and even after? This is an online course. The question obviously people have is, where did the buck stop? Who was supposed to be keeping a close eye on this? The short answer is a lot of people, right?
Yeah, several people signed off on these final grades and were a part of what appears to be a part of this. The principal, when I spoke to him, said that he signed off on final grades, the department chairs signed off on final grades, and guidance counselors and other assistant principals and administrators in the school building were part of the process of identifying students who needed to take online credit recovery courses. And the state law says that a certified teacher in the subject matter has to be a part of the process of doing online credit recovery courses. And from my reporting and what we know so far, that didn't seem to be the case.
Now, the question then comes to why. And if anybody thought, oh, well, it was just faster to give full credit, there's also another possible motivation here. Schools are under a lot of pressure that their kids make the grade here, and they're assessed on the proficiency level of the students, and so are the teachers in the schools measured against. Did you find that those pressures were under the surface here, and that even if we can't pin it yet, the investigation is going to play out? That certainly was seemingly a factor.
Well, so when I initially started going through these documents, I immediately realized that this was the class of 2016 that we were talking about, seniors who were doing this work. And I knew that I had written a story in 2016 about the graduation rate that year, because it was higher. They had seen increases in the graduation rate among all different demographics in the school, and it was a pretty significant achievement for them, and it was something that I talked to the principal at length about at the time. And so now here we are 2 years later, and starting to try to unravel, what really happened and whether or not this has anything to do with that graduation rate that year.
Obviously, people who don't even follow this as closely as yourself, they hear the name Rochelle High School, and obviously the other storyline that came out was some of the violence at the school. Is there concerns from parents, and we covered some of the town halls, and we heard it then, but that there's a lack of institutional control going on right now, and that, there's too many issues where, it's not really buttoned down?
Yeah, I think you could say that. I think there is this just increasing distrust right now between the community and the administrators, and you're seeing that from all ends as different scenarios keep coming up. And I think a huge indication of that too is that their school budget failed last month. Yep. And so they have to go back to their voters and say, give us another chance here to put something together. And I think that's kind of a metaphor for the relationship right now between the administration and its community.
And to bring this full circle, we mentioned this was taken out of the school's hands. The school wasn't going to self-police this investigation. There's an outside group that was brought in, TNM. They're supposedly going to have this report before the end of the year. I got to imagine people are worried there's going to be more shoes they're going to drop, rather than just some of the examples that you've uncovered here and that we just showed.
That's what we think could happen. You know, what Dr. Osborne, the superintendent, said was that he instructed T&M to identify whether or not there are graduates this year who may not meet the grade, but then the second part of that is to then look back at years past.
What a mess. Good reporting, though, Colleen. Thank you also for the time. I appreciate it. And while we're talking about good work on the part of the paper, also a congratulations to our friends at the Journal News for winning a prestigious award. The Deadline Club gave investigative reporter Thomas Zambito one of their highest awards for reporting by a newspaper with a circulation of under 100,000. He won for his series on the problems of Metro North, including that fatal derailment at Spuyten Duyvil. Congratulations. We covered that story on this air here, and it was really terrific reporting. Up next, if you watched the finals last night, you know it was a memorable game for a lot of different reasons. LeBron James, superlative, scoring 51 points, but the Cavaliers lost anyway to the Warriors. Some questionable calls, and also J.R. Smith. Well, Knicks fans know that we weren't surprised by a knucklehead move in the waning seconds. Fox 1 Sports reporter Justin Walters, he joins us to discuss.